Sven is now 14 years old. The year following his participation in the raid on the Northumbrian monastery has been a period of intense training and development. He has not participated in another raid, but he has spent countless hours training with weapons, studying the tactics of experienced warriors, and preparing himself for the day when he will be ready to participate in actual combat. During this year, Sven has also begun to develop a reputation among the younger warriors of Kaupang. He is known for his dedication to training, for his intelligence and his strategic thinking, for his willingness to learn from more experienced warriors. Other young men seek him out, wanting to train with him, wanting to learn from his knowledge and his experience. It is during this period that Sven first encounters significant rivalry and resistance from another young warrior named Bjorn. Bjorn is in his mid-20s, several years older than Sven, and he has already participated in multiple raids. Bjorn is a skilled warrior, known for his strength and his ferocity in combat. But Bjorn is also arrogant and dismissive of younger warriors, viewing them as inferior and unworthy of his attention. Bjorn first notices Sven when the younger warrior begins to attract followers and admirers. Bjorn observes that other young men are seeking out Sven for training and advice, that Sven's reputation is growing, that Sven is beginning to establish himself as a leader among the younger warriors. Bjorn views this development with alarm, recognizing in Sven a potential rival, a young man whose growing reputation threatens Bjorn's own standing. One day, at a gathering of warriors in Kaupang, Bjorn deliberately insults Sven in front of a group of other young men. Bjorn suggests that Sven is too young and too inexperienced to be offering advice to other warriors, that Sven has participated in only one raid and has not even fought in actual combat, that Sven is simply a farm boy who got lucky to be allowed to participate in a raid at all. Sven hears these insults and feels anger rising within him. But he does not respond immediately with anger or with a challenge to combat. Instead, he takes a moment to consider his response carefully. He recognizes that Bjorn is trying to provoke him, trying to get him to react emotionally, trying to establish dominance through intimidation. Sven responds to Bjorn's insults with calm and with intelligence. He acknowledges that he is young and that he has not yet participated in actual combat. But he also points out that he has studied warfare extensively, that he has learned from experienced warriors like Torsten, that he has developed a deep understanding of strategy and tactics. He suggests that there are many different ways to be a skilled warrior, that physical strength and combat experience are important, but that intelligence and strategic thinking are equally important. Sven's response is measured and thoughtful, and it impresses many of the other young warriors who are listening. They recognize that Sven has handled the confrontation with maturity and intelligence, that he has not allowed himself to be provoked into an emotional response, that he has demonstrated the qualities of a true leader. Bjorn is not pleased by Sven's response. He had expected Sven to respond with anger and emotion, to challenge him to combat, to allow himself to be drawn into a confrontation where Bjorn's superior strength and combat experience would give him an advantage. Instead, Sven has responded with calm and with intelligence, and in doing so, he has actually enhanced his reputation rather than diminishing it. In the days following this confrontation, Bjorn begins to plot his revenge. He recognizes that he cannot defeat Sven through direct confrontation, at least not yet. Bjorn decides instead to undermine Sven's reputation, to spread rumors about him, to suggest that Sven is not as skilled or as intelligent as people believe. Bjorn begins to spread stories about Sven's participation in the raid on the monastery. Bjorn suggests that Sven was terrified during the raid, that he was unable to handle the violence and the chaos, that he had to be protected by his father Gustav. Bjorn exaggerates Sven's fear and his inexperience, suggesting that Sven is not truly ready to be a warrior, that he is still just a boy playing at being a warrior. These rumors begin to circulate among the warriors of Kaupang. Some warriors believe the stories, viewing Sven with suspicion and doubt, but many other warriors, particularly those who have observed Sven's dedication to training and his thoughtful approach to learning, dismiss the rumors as the jealous fabrications of Bjorn. Sven becomes aware of these rumors and recognizes them for what they are: the work of Bjorn, who is attempting to damage Sven's reputation and undermine his growing influence. Rather than responding with anger or with direct confrontation, Sven takes a strategic approach. He continues with his training, continues to demonstrate his dedication and his intelligence, continues to build relationships with other warriors and with the leaders of Kaupang. Sven also seeks out Torsten, the experienced warrior who has been mentoring him, and discusses the situation with him. Torsten listens to Sven's account of the rumors and the confrontation with Bjorn, and he offers Sven advice. Torsten tells Sven that rumors and gossip are a part of the Viking world, that ambitious warriors often face such attacks from rivals who are threatened by their growing power and influence. Torsten advises Sven to ignore the rumors, to continue focusing on his training and his development, to let his actions speak for themselves. Torsten also tells Sven that the best way to silence rumors is to prove them false through one's actions. Torsten suggests that when Sven participates in his next raid, when he finally has the opportunity to fight in actual combat, he will have the chance to demonstrate his true abilities, to prove that the rumors about him are false, to establish himself as a skilled warrior in his own right. This advice resonates with Sven. He understands that he cannot control what other people say about him, but he can control his own actions and his own development. He commits himself to continuing his training, to preparing himself thoroughly for his first real combat experience, to proving through his actions that he is worthy of the reputation that he is building. During this period, Sven also begins to develop a closer relationship with his father, Gustav. Gustav recognizes that his son is facing challenges and rivalries, that Sven is beginning to navigate the complex political landscape of the Viking world. Gustav offers his son advice based on his own experience, helping Sven to understand the dynamics of power and reputation in Viking society. Gustav tells Sven that in the Viking world, reputation is everything. A warrior's reputation determines how other warriors treat him, whether they will follow him into battle, whether they will respect his authority. Gustav explains that Sven's reputation is still being formed, that the decisions he makes now, the way he handles challenges and rivalries, will shape his reputation for years to come. Gustav also tells Sven that there will always be rivals and enemies, that as Sven becomes more successful and more powerful, he will face more opposition and more challenges. Gustav advises his son to remain focused on his own development, to not become distracted by the jealousy and the hostility of rivals like Bjorn, to maintain his integrity and his honor even in the face of attacks and insults. Sven's younger sister Ingrid is now 12 years old. She watches her brother's growing conflicts with interest and concern. Ingrid is developing her own interests in commerce and trade, and she is beginning to understand the political and economic dynamics of Viking society. She offers her brother advice based on her own observations, suggesting that Sven should focus on building alliances and relationships with powerful people in Kaupang, rather than allowing himself to become distracted by conflicts with rivals like Bjorn. Ingrid's advice proves to be valuable. Sven begins to cultivate relationships with Earl Einar and with other powerful leaders in Kaupang. He spends time with these leaders, learning about their concerns and their interests, demonstrating his respect for their authority and their experience. In doing so, Sven begins to build a network of powerful allies who respect him and who are willing to support him in his future endeavors. Earl Einar observes these developments with interest. The Earl recognizes that Sven is developing into an exceptional young warrior, someone who has not just physical skill but also intelligence, political acumen, and the ability to build relationships and alliances. Einar is pleased by Sven's development, recognizing that Sven has the potential to become one of the great leaders of his generation. As Episode 5 comes to a close, Sven is 15 years old. He has not yet participated in actual combat, but he has spent the past 2 years preparing himself thoroughly for that experience. He has studied warfare extensively, has trained with weapons constantly, has learned from experienced warriors like Torsten, has developed a deep understanding of strategy and tactics. He has also begun to navigate the complex political landscape of Viking society, building relationships and alliances, establishing his reputation as a thoughtful and intelligent leader. The rivalry with Bjorn is just beginning, and it will likely define much of Sven's future. But Sven is not afraid of this rivalry. He recognizes that competition with Bjorn will push him to become a better warrior and a better leader. He is confident that his dedication to training and his intelligence will eventually allow him to outcompete Bjorn, to establish himself as the superior leader. As Sven looks toward the future, he understands that his first real combat experience is approaching. In the coming year or two, Earl Einar will likely organize another major raid, and Sven will have the opportunity to participate in actual combat for the first time. Sven is both excited and nervous about this prospect. He understands that this will be a crucial test of his abilities, that his performance in this first combat will shape his reputation for years to come. But he is confident that he is ready, that his years of training and preparation have equipped him with the skills and the knowledge necessary to succeed. During this period, Sven also begins to develop a more comprehensive understanding of the Viking world. He learns about the different settlements and territories in Scandinavia, about the various leaders and their relationships with one another, about the trade routes and the economic networks that connect different regions. He understands that the Viking world is not just about raiding and warfare, but also about commerce, politics, and diplomacy. Sven begins to spend time with merchants and traders, learning about their business, understanding how they accumulate and manage wealth. He recognizes that wealth can be accumulated through commerce as well as through raiding, that a truly great leader must be able to build power and influence through multiple means. He begins to see the potential for combining military power with commercial success, for using his position as a warrior and a leader to establish trade networks and to accumulate wealth through commerce. This comprehensive approach to understanding the Viking world sets Sven apart from many other young warriors. While other young men focus exclusively on warfare and combat, Sven is developing a broader understanding of how power and influence are built and maintained in Viking society. This broader perspective will eventually prove to be one of Sven's greatest strengths, allowing him to build a more stable and more sustainable power base than warriors who rely exclusively on military force. Sven also begins to develop a reputation for fairness and for treating other people with respect. While many Viking leaders are harsh and demanding, expecting their followers to obey without question, Sven takes a different approach. He listens to the concerns and the ideas of other people, treats them with respect, acknowledges their contributions. This approach to leadership begins to attract followers and supporters who are tired of serving under harsh and demanding leaders. During this period, Sven also begins to develop a more sophisticated understanding of the different types of weapons and armor used in Viking warfare. He experiments with different combinations of weapons and armor, trying to find the configuration that works best for him. He studies the weapons and armor used by different cultures, learning about their strengths and weaknesses. He understands that the right equipment can make a significant difference in combat, and he is determined to be as well equipped as possible when he finally participates in actual combat. Sven also begins to develop a reputation for physical fitness and for discipline. He maintains a rigorous training regimen, running long distances to build his endurance, practicing with weapons for hours each day, maintaining a strict diet to keep himself in peak physical condition. Other young warriors observe his dedication and begin to respect him for his commitment to self-improvement. The conflict between Sven and Bjorn continues to simmer beneath the surface. Bjorn continues to spread rumors and to make insulting comments about Sven, but Sven refuses to be drawn into direct confrontation. Instead, Sven focuses on his own development and on building his reputation through his actions rather than through words or through combat. Earl Einar continues to observe these developments with interest. The Earl recognizes that the rivalry between Sven and Bjorn is creating a dynamic that could be beneficial to him, that the competition between the two men is driving both of them to achieve greater things, to take greater risks, to push themselves beyond their previous limits. Einar decides to use this rivalry to his advantage, giving both men opportunities to develop their abilities and their reputations. As Episode 5 comes to a close, Sven is 15 years old and on the verge of young adulthood. He has spent the past 2 years preparing himself thoroughly for his first real combat experience. He has studied warfare extensively, has trained with weapons constantly, has learned from experienced warriors, has developed a deep understanding of strategy and tactics. He has also begun to navigate the complex political landscape of Viking society, building relationships and alliances, establishing his reputation as a thoughtful and intelligent leader. The rivalry with Bjorn is just beginning, and it will likely define much of Sven's future. But Sven is not afraid of this rivalry. He recognizes that competition with Bjorn will push him to become a better warrior and a better leader. He is confident that his dedication to training and his intelligence will eventually allow him to outcompete Bjorn, to establish himself as the superior leader. The path ahead is still uncertain, but Sven is confident that he is on the right track. He understands that his first real combat experience is approaching, that this will be a crucial test of his abilities, that his performance in this first combat will shape his reputation for years to come. But he is confident that he is ready, that his years of training and preparation have equipped him with the skills and the knowledge necessary to succeed. Sven's mother Astrid continues to support her son's ambitions, but she also worries about the dangers that he will face in the years to come. She prays to the gods for his protection, makes offerings at the local temple, does everything she can to ensure that her son is kept safe. She also encourages Sven to maintain his connection to his family, to remember his roots and his home, even as he pursues his ambitions in the wider Viking world. Sven's father Gustav is proud of his son's development. Gustav recognizes that Sven is developing into an exceptional young man, someone who has not just physical skill but also intelligence, political acumen, and the ability to build relationships and alliances. Gustav continues to mentor his son, offering advice based on his own experience, helping Sven to navigate the complex dynamics of Viking society. Gustav also begins to prepare Sven for the possibility of leadership. Gustav tells his son that true leadership is not just about being the strongest or the most skilled warrior, but about having the wisdom and the judgment to make good decisions, about being able to inspire loyalty and respect in those who follow you, about being willing to take responsibility for the consequences of your decisions. Ingrid continues to develop her own interests and her own ambitions. She has become increasingly interested in the business of commerce and trade, and she spends time with merchants and traders, learning about their operations. Ingrid is beginning to develop her own ideas about how to build wealth and power through commerce, and she is starting to think about how she might use these skills to establish herself as a powerful figure in her own right. The relationship between Sven and Ingrid remains close, despite the fact that they are pursuing very different paths. Sven is focused on military power and warfare, while Ingrid is focused on commerce and economics. But they recognize that these two paths are complementary, that a truly great leader must understand both warfare and commerce, and that their different skills and knowledge can be combined to create something greater than either of them could achieve alone. As Episode 5 comes to a close, Sven stands at a threshold. He has spent the past 2 years preparing himself thoroughly for his first real combat experience. He has studied warfare extensively, has trained with weapons constantly, has learned from experienced warriors, has developed a deep understanding of strategy and tactics. He has also begun to navigate the complex political landscape of Viking society, building relationships and alliances, establishing his reputation as a thoughtful and intelligent leader. The rivalry with Bjorn continues to simmer, but Sven refuses to allow it to distract him from his primary focus, preparing himself for his first real combat experience. Sven understands that when he finally has the opportunity to fight in actual combat, he will have the chance to prove himself, to demonstrate his true abilities, to establish himself as a skilled warrior in his own right. The path ahead is uncertain, but Sven is confident that he is on the right track. He is determined to continue developing his abilities, to prepare himself thoroughly for the challenges that lie ahead, to position himself for the great achievements that he believes are his to claim.